You can learn English through real stories about real people. In this video, from English 1314, we will learn English with the life story of Steve Jobs, one of the co-founders of Apple. His story is full of curiosity, risk, failure, and new beginnings. We will tell his story in very simple English at A2 level, with short sentences, clear ideas, and many useful phrases. You can just listen first, and later you can shadow the voice, which means you repeat the sentences at the same time as the speaker. Step by step, your ear, your mouth, and your brain will work together. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to stay with the story and give yourself time. Welcome to English 1314, a friendly place where you can learn English with real-life stories and gentle practice. In this video, we will tell the life story of Steve Jobs in slow and simple English. Our goal is not to make a long, difficult lesson. Our goal is to help you feel that English can be soft, warm, and human, not cold and hard. We will not speak like a serious textbook. We will speak like a person sitting next to you, telling you about another person. Today, you will hear about Steve Jobs as a child in an adoptive family, as a young man building Apple in a small garage, as a leader who is pushed out of his own company, and as a man who returns to Apple and helps create products like the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad. We will keep a neutral tone. We will not say that he is a hero or an angel, and we will not attack him. We will simply look at his story and see what we can learn. While you listen, you can close your eyes and imagine the scenes like a movie in your mind. The first time, you can just listen. The second or third time, you can listen and read subtitles if they are available. Then you can choose a short part and shadow it, which means you speak together with the voice, like a quiet echo. This method will help you copy the rhythm, the stress, and the music of English. Remember, it is okay if you do not understand every word. Your brain will still learn from the sounds, the patterns, and the repeated phrases. You are learning step by step, and every minute with English is a real step forward. Steve Jobs was born in 1955, but his life began in a special way. His birth parents could not raise him, so he was adopted by another couple, Paul and Clara Jobs. They lived in California, in an area that later became famous as Silicon Valley, a place with many technology companies. Paul and Clara were not rich, but they loved their son very much. Paul Jobs worked with his hands. He liked to fix cars, build things, and repair machines in the family garage. Little Steve watched his father work. Paul showed him how to use tools, how to take a machine apart, and how to put it together again. He taught Steve to do careful work, to pay attention to small details, and to be proud of a job well done, even if nobody else could see the inside. This simple lesson stayed with Steve for his whole life. As a boy, Steve was curious and sometimes intense. He liked to ask questions and did not always accept easy answers. At school, he was smart, but not always easy to manage. Sometimes he broke rules, talked back to teachers, or played tricks. Some adults saw him as a troublemaker, but other adults noticed that he was very bright and needed interesting problems not only simple tasks. In his free time, Steve liked electronics. Electronics means small parts like wires, resistors, and chips that you can put together to make radios and other devices. He enjoyed going to shops that sold these parts and reading magazines about new technology. At the same time, he also loved art and beauty. Later, when he went to college, he became interested in calligraphy, which is the art of beautiful writing. This mix of electronics and art became a very important part of his character. When Steve finished high school, he went to Reed College, a small and special college in Oregon. Reed was not a big famous university like Harvard, but it was a place with many creative students and teachers. However, after a short time, Steve felt that the normal college path was not right for him. The classes were expensive, and he did not want his adoptive parents to pay a lot of money for subjects that did not interest him. So he made a brave and unusual decision. He dropped out of college. That means he stopped being a normal student. But he did not leave completely. He stayed on campus and slept on the floor in friends' rooms. He collected empty bottles to get small money, and he walked long distances to get free food at a nearby center. Even in this simple life, he chose to attend some classes that he loved, especially a calligraphy class. In this class, he learned about different styles of letters, about spaces between characters, and about how good design can make words easier and more pleasant to read. At that time, he did not know exactly how this would help him in the future. Many years later, when Apple made computers with beautiful fonts and clean screens, Steve said that this calligraphy class was one of the reasons why Apple products cared so much about type and design. This shows that even small, strange choices in life can become important later when the pieces connect like dots in a picture. After leaving Reed College, Steve Jobs returned to California. He continued to explore electronics and to meet people who loved technology as much as he did. One of the most important people he met was Steve Wozniak, often called Woz. Woz was very good at building electronic boards and creating clever designs for small computers. He was quiet, kind, and very strong in technical skills. Steve Jobs was different. He was not a technical engineer at the same level, but he had a strong sense for design, for people, and for business. He could see how a product might fit into normal life, and he loved to talk about the future. The two Steves became friends. They went to a local computer club where people showed each other their new projects. Woz built a small computer board that could be used at home by hobbyists. Steve Jobs looked at this board and saw more than a hobby. He saw a product that many people might want to buy. He suggested that they start a company together to sell these boards. In 1976, they started Apple in the garage of Steve's parents' house. The garage became their first small factory. They worked long days and nights, placing parts on boards, soldering connections, and testing each unit by hand. They sold their first computers, called Apple I, to a local computer store. The store put the machines on a shelf and waited for customers. This was the very early stage of the personal computer revolution, when computers were just starting to move from big companies into homes. After Apple I, they made Apple II, a more complete computer with a case, a keyboard, and color graphics. Apple II became very popular. Schools and families bought it. For many children, Apple II was the first computer they ever used. It allowed them to play simple games, write texts, and learn new skills. Apple grew quickly. It hired more people, moved into real office buildings, and started to work on new ideas. One of the most important ideas was to make a computer that used a graphical user interface, which means a screen with pictures, windows, and a mouse, not only text. This idea was new for normal users. Instead of typing hard commands, people could click on icons and move things on the screen. The team at Apple developed the Macintosh computer, called the Mac. Steve Jobs cared a lot about how the Mac looked and felt. He wanted the outside to be friendly, not scary. He wanted the inside software to feel simple and human, not like a cold machine. He asked designers to think about every small detail, from the shape of the box to the sound the computer made when it started. For Steve, a computer was not just a tool. It was also a piece of art that lived on a person's desk. At the same time, he pushed his team very hard. He asked for big changes, worked late, and wanted the product to be as close as possible to his vision. Some people loved this energy, others found it difficult, but the result was clear. The Macintosh became an important symbol of friendly computers. Its screen, mouse, and icons helped many people feel less afraid of technology. Other companies watched and later made their own versions of similar ideas. In this way, the early work of Apple and of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak helped to start the personal computer revolution, a change that brought computers into many homes and changed the way people work, learn, and play. Even strong stories have hard chapters, and Steve Jobs' story is no different. As Apple grew, Steve's role inside the company changed. He was a visionary, but he was also very demanding, and he sometimes had conflicts with other leaders. In the mid-1980s, after some difficult product launches and business problems, the Apple board of directors decided that Steve should have less power in daily operations. There was a power struggle inside the company, and in the end, Steve Jobs left Apple, the company he had helped to create. For him, this was a very painful moment. It felt like being pushed out of his own house. Later, he said that it was one of the best things that happened to him, but at the time, it felt like a big failure. After leaving Apple, Steve did not stop working with computers. He started a new company called Next. Next made powerful computers for universities and research centers. The machines were not a big success in the mass market, but they had strong software and elegant design ideas. At the same time, Steve became involved with a small animation studio that later became famous as Pixar. Pixar worked on making movies with computer animation. This was a new and risky idea at the time. Over the years, Pixar created films that many people around the world love, such as Toy Story. These movies showed that computers could tell warm, funny, and touching stories, not just do math or business work. Through Nexty and Pixar, Steve learned more about building teams, leading creative people, and combining technology with art in new ways. While he was busy with these projects, Apple was having problems. The company had lost clear direction. It had too many products, and many people felt that Apple's magic was gone. In the late 1990s, Apple decided to buy NXT to get its modern software. This business decision brought Steve Jobs back into Apple. At first, he came as an advisor. Later, he became the leader again. When Steve returned, he saw that Apple needed focus. The company had many different models and projects. He cut many of them and chose to concentrate on a small number of key products. With his teams, he worked on creating the iMac, a colorful and friendly desktop computer with a simple, all-in-one design. The iMac helped bring new life and attention to Apple. After that, Apple moved into music with the iPod and the iTunes software, making it easier for people to carry many songs in their pocket and to buy music online. Later, Apple introduced the iPhone, which combined a phone, a music player, and an internet device in one small object with a touchscreen. This product changed the phone industry and the way people use the internet in daily life. The iPad followed, bringing a larger touchscreen tablet that people could use for reading, watching videos, and playing games. In all of these products, Steve Jobs pushed for focus and simplicity. He wanted the outside design to be clean and beautiful. And he wanted the inside to be easy for normal people to use, even if they did not love technology. He became famous for his product presentations. On stage, he wore simple clothes, spoke in simple language, and showed the products step by step. He often used short phrases and dramatic pauses. Sometimes he said, "One more thing," and then showed a new surprise. People watched these events all over the world. Near the end of his life, Steve became sick with a serious illness. He continued to work for some time, but his health slowly became weaker. In 2011, he passed away. Many people around the world felt sad because his work had touched their daily life through the products they used. His story ended, but his influence on technology, design, and business continued. Steve Jobs' life gives us many lessons that can support your English journey and your personal growth. The first lesson is about curiosity and passion. As a child and young man, Steve followed his interest in electronics and art, even when other people did not understand his choices. He spent hours in garages, shops, and classrooms, learning more about the things he loved. For your English, you can also follow your curiosity. You can say, "I follow my curiosity. I love what I do." This means you choose content that you enjoy, such as stories, videos, or topics that feel exciting or warm to you. When you listen to something you care about, it is easier to stay with it, even when you do not understand every word. The second lesson is about connecting the dots. When Steve took a calligraphy class at Reed College, he did not know how it would fit into his future, but later it helped him design beautiful computer fonts. He said that you cannot always see the full picture of your life when you look forward, but you can see how the pieces connect when you look back. For your English, this means that small actions today, like listening to one story or learning one phrase, may feel small, but later they connect into something big. You can tell yourself, "I cannot see the whole future, but I take the next step." This sentence can give you peace when you feel impatient. The third lesson is about learning from failure. Steve was pushed out of Apple, the company he started. At first, it felt like a disaster, but that failure opened a door to Next and Pixar and gave him new skills and ideas. When he returned to Apple, he was stronger and wiser. In your English, you may also face moments that feel like failure. You may forget a word in conversation, get a low score on a test, or feel lost when you listen to a fast speaker. In those moments, you can say, "I can learn from my mistakes. Failure is not the end." When you speak these words, you remind yourself that mistakes are not a sign that you are bad. They are a sign that you are learning. The fourth lesson is about focus and simplicity. Steve Jobs often said that focus is not only about what you choose to do, but also about what you choose not to do. Apple cut many products to focus on a few. The designs were simple on purpose. For your English, this means you do not need to use every app, every book, and every method at the same time. You can choose one or two main activities, such as listening and shadowing this series, and do them regularly. You can say, "I choose what is important," and say no to the rest. Simple is powerful. These two short sentences can help you keep your study plan light and clear. The fifth lesson comes from a famous line Steve shared in a speech: "Stay hungry, stay foolish." In simple language, this means keep your desire to learn and do not be afraid to try new things, even if you feel a little silly. For English, you can translate this idea into, "I want to keep learning. I do not stop growing." When you say these lines, you give yourself permission to continue even when progress is slow. The sixth lesson is about being true to yourself. Steve Jobs often spoke about living your own life, not the life that other people want for you. He followed his own path, even when it was strange or hard. For your English, this can mean that you learn in a way that fits your life and your heart. Maybe you like stories more than exams. Maybe you learn better in the morning than at night. You can say, "I want to live my own life, not someone else's life." This sentence can remind you to respect your own pace, your own style, and your own dream. All of these lessons become more powerful when you speak them, not only read them. You can choose one or two sentences from this section and say them out loud every day, like a small promise to yourself. Over time, they will become part of your inner voice, and they will support you when English feels hard. Now it is your turn to use Steve Jobs' story as a tool for your English. First, choose one short part from this script, maybe 4 to 6 sentences that you like. It can be from his childhood, from the Apple garage, from his failure and return, or from the life lessons at the end. Listen to that part again and again until the sounds feel more familiar to your ear. Then try to shadow it, which means you speak at the same time as the voice, like an echo that follows a main voice a little bit later. At the beginning, you may feel slow or lost, but if you repeat many times, your mouth will move more smoothly and your ear will catch more sounds and more small details. Do not worry about small mistakes. You do not need to copy every sound perfectly. The important thing is that you stay in the game and keep your tongue moving in English. Second, write one simple sentence in English in the comments. You can answer a question like, "What lesson do you learn from Steve Jobs' story?" Your sentence can be very short. For example, I can learn from my mistakes. Or, I want to keep learning. Or, I follow my curiosity. When you write this sentence, you turn a feeling into real words, and you get one more moment of real practice. If you see comments from other learners, you can read them and reply with one kind line, such as, "Good job, keep going," or, "Thank you for sharing." In this way, the comment box becomes a small classroom where we all support each other and nobody needs to feel alone. Third, if this way of learning feels good for you, subscribe to English 1314 and continue with the next stories in this series about famous people. You can make a small, clear plan, like listening to one story 3 times this week and shadowing your favorite part each day, or listening for 10 minutes every morning while you get ready for your day. You can also keep a simple notebook or a note on your phone where you write the date and one sentence you like from each video. Over time, this will become your personal English book, full of lines that feel natural and true for you. On days when you feel low or tired, you can open this list and read some of your favorite sentences out loud to remember how far you have already come. Remember, learning a language is not a race. It is a long journey with many small steps, and you are allowed to walk slowly. When you finish this video, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and smile softly. Say to yourself, "I practiced today, and that is a real success." You are not perfect, but you are moving, and that movement is very important. Then, when you are ready, you can move on to the next story and keep walking your English path with curiosity, courage, and a simple, open heart.